Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we will continue with part 20 of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class Coupe project. Okay, so continuing on from the previous lesson, I'm going to be working on refining some of the lines over here. And I think right now you'll see that this line is going up a little bit too much. Well, at least that's how I feel. So I'm going to try to adjust that through various ways. So if you look at the picture over here, you'll see that this is actually quite horizontal, and actually I think I have a front view. So let's check that image. So let me just bring it up. So if you notice right here, yes, it is rising a little bit, but I also do think that the current data that I have, the current surface I have, is rising a little bit too much. So I am going to implement a few things in order to bring this line down. Okay, so one of the first thing I can do is, in order to do this, I guess one of the best ways to do this either is push this in or push this out so that the highlight of these two surfaces stay constant. So if I were to just, let's see, ISO angle, well, you can use zebra, doesn't really matter. But as you can see over here, I think this one is going down a little bit. Let's check. I don't know why. Well, let's see. If I were to make it parallel, well, I actually guess that doesn't really have much impact on that surface. Okay, so let's go ahead and I think, well, let's take a look. I think the bottom surface, I don't think I'm gonna touch that one. The top surface, I can probably do a little bit of adjustment. So let's go to a side view. I think I can probably push this a little bit forward. So let's do that first. So I'm just going to grab this surface over here. I'm just going to bring it up just a little bit. Now, I don't know how much impact this is going to have on the line, but let's take a look. So I'm just pushing it outboard a little bit. Well, actually, I don't think it is definitely not insignificant. So I think that's pretty good. And other thing that I can do is I can just push this one a little bit forward in car so that it is the distance between this intersection and this one is a little bit constant. So if you just take a look at it right now, it kind of, well, it looks like it's going from thick to thin over here. But if I were to just push this forward just a little bit, you'll see that I think the intersection is becoming a lot more constant. So that's good. All right. Another thing that I can do is I think I can probably do a little bit of rotation over here. So in order to that, I'm just going to turn ISO angle tool on. It's going to be, let's see, just bring up the menu, make it a little bit bigger. I can do multiple, and I'm going to increase the number of bands to show how the highlight is working. And let's change that to natural. Now, to be honest, I don't like how this is going down a little bit. The only problem is if I were to rotate this, I think this surface needs a little bit of refinement. Because if I were to rotate this so that it's like this, you'll notice that it's actually going back. Oh, I don't want that. So I probably don't want to do that. I actually probably want to pull the surface forward, but the problem is if I were to do that, I think well, actually, you know what? No, I think I'm not going to touch that. So I'm just going to leave it like this. I know there's a little bit of flick towards this end, but one thing I can do is I can try to do a little bit of rotation on this one. So let's just do a little bit of rotation like this. Let me do a little bit more. Okay, so that does bring the line down a little bit, but I think despite the highlight change, I don't think I'm getting a lot of benefit from it. Yeah, I don't think I'm getting a full benefit of doing the rotation. So because I don't think I want to do it too much. Let's see. If I were to push this too much, then you'll see that the highlights are starting to peak quite a bit. I would prefer to keep it horizontal as possible. So if that's the case, what I can do is I'll probably have to adjust this line a little bit. Now let's just go to the side view and see how much I can do this, because I actually need to push this in a little bit into this and push this out. So right now, although I think the intersection point is actually not that bad, well, let's just do a little bit of, well, actually that doesn't look too bad. Let's just check the highlight. Yeah, but I do think that might be a little bit too much rotation. Okay, so if that's the case, I'm just going to turn it back to 0. Just keep it nice as a horizontal. And what I'm going to do is I'll probably have to push this one a little bit towards the end. So let's push this one in just a little bit. Like this, and I think I'm going to just push this out just a hair, so a little bit more, and I'm just going to attach this one back like this, and let's just check the intersection. Now it looks like this shader is giving me a lot better visual of this one. I would say it's not bad. I might need a little bit more though. Now, some of it could be due to this how this surface intersects over here. So it could be going down. I think there seems to be a little bit of. I think there seems to be a line that goes down a little bit. I think that it is partly due to the fillet. So I'll probably have to keep that in mind. So if that's the case, I think I'm going to just do a little bit more. So I'm just going to just push this out just a little bit like that. I want to adjust this one a little bit too, like that. And I'll probably give this a little bit more crown so that it's still looking good. And I'm going to check this line against the canvas. So let's grab this one over here. I'm going to just check it against the top. I think this line is actually looking pretty good, so no complaints there. And let's go ahead and push this one in. So I'm just going to push this one in just a little bit more. Now when I'm pushing this in, you got to make sure that you are doing the same thing over here, so I'll probably have to make a little bit of adjustment. Now because it's such a slight amount, you'll notice, well, actually so far I don't think it's too bad, but you got to keep in mind that if you adjusted this one, you probably have to adjust the rest of it so that everything follows suit. So I'm just going to keep that in mind. However, let's just push it in until, well, I'm satisfied. So let's go ahead and grab this one. Just going to push it on just a little bit more. And let's just take a look. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think the rest of it could be done by just having this surface flow right here. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And I'm just going to do a little bit of modification over here and here. So let's take a look at those. Okay, so it looks like this surface probably needs to be redone, but that's fine, it's necessary. So let's go ahead and do some adjustments. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this line down like this, and I'm just going to snap it over here so that that's adjusted. And this surface over here, I do need to redo this, but before I do that though, I think I probably want to push this, push the rest of it in. So now you're seeing this, there's a little bit more difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap a curve here. Well, we already have this curve over here, so let's reuse that. So I'm just going to use the stretch tool. I'm going to just push it right here, and well, just turn that off. And before I continue, let's just take a look at the image. Okay, so I think it's looking pretty good. Let me just check it from perspective view. Now there is going to a fillet over here, and this is probably going to end up somewhere over here. So this line is going to travel down a little bit. I think this is going to work okay. So let's just continue. So now looks like, let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this curve over here, and I'm just going to bring it over down like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this a little bit. So let's go ahead and extend this just a little bit like this. Actually, you know what? Let me just leave that. Okay, so now it is about at a similar position as the top. So I'm just going to paste it over here like this, and I'm just going to use a stretch tool to snap this one a little bit forward like that. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing for this one. I'm just going to, well, let's take a look. Now, because of this is, I think it's a duplicate of this one, so I should probably use a stretch tool, snap this one too. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, this curve can be extended back. So I'm just going to move this back over here, and I'm just going to use a stretch tool to snap it like that. And that looks good. And let's get rid of this one. Well, actually, no, you know what? I probably need it for that one. Okay, so I'm just going to recycle it. Okay, so let's just move it down like this. For this one, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but let's take a look. First of all, I am going to realign this one. So I'm going to grab this, I don't know, draft surface. I'm just going to align it. Let's say partial. Blending, push influence to max, expressive on 1, blend factor of 0, and that looks good. And now what I'm going to do is I think I need to reposition this also. Well, to be honest, it looks pretty close, so maybe I'll just leave it. Okay, so maybe I'll just do that. I mean, I think it is that there's enough separation between these two parts where I probably don't have to like super microscopically just try to line that up. So I think for now, I would say that's good enough. So maybe I'll just leave it like that. Okay, that said, I do need to rework this surface over here. So let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm just going to delete this one. Actually, before I do that, let's just check. It's a rail surface. Where is the gen curve that I use? Oh, it's located over here. Okay, so that's good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use extend. I'm going to just extend this curve over here back to where this was. Just going to extend this somewhere over there. And I do think I need to align this one as well. So let's go ahead and do that. It's going to be aligned. I'm going to just snap it to this curve over here like this. All the settings are good. And now let's take a look. Okay, so for this surface over here, I'm just going to paste it over like this, and I'm just going to do a bi-rail. It's going to be 1 and 2. So let's grab this one, and this one over here. Let's take a look. Oh, okay. So I do need a rebuild on. Probably this one is probably better. Explicit control on. I'm just going to do 4 degrees. That's good. Okay. So now I do need to extend this a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to grab this edge like that. And I'm just going to intersect it against this one. This is just temporary surfacing, so I know it's a little bit messy, but I think it should be okay. All right, so now that's done, I'm just going to strike a curve from, well, let's grab these surfaces over here. Just going to say hide unselected. Just going to snap a curve over here, and I'm going to snap a curve over here. And I'm just going to project it like this, and I'm just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to trim over here. Okay, so I know there's a little negative surfacing, or negative, I guess, intersection, but I think that should be okay. However, I probably have to play with the volume of these two surfaces a little bit in order to make that a little bit better. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now. For now, my primary concern is building the primary surfaces or the block surfaces in order to make sure that everything looks good. Now, the position of this one intersection is a lot better than before. When I projected, I think it's actually fitting the canvas a lot better. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the changes I made. So let's go ahead and continue with the build. Okay, so I should probably work on this one. So let's go ahead and modify that one a little bit. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, this line does have to touch down against this surface over here. So I'm just going to project it from X, and let's use a stretch tool to snap it over here like that. Let's get rid of that one. And this surface over here is going to need a little bit of refinement. So does this one. So let's go ahead and untrim, and I'm just going to align this one. It's going to position. And blend factor 1 like this. That looks good. And now let's just, well, I don't think I can just extend the surface over here. Let's see what happens if I do. Yeah, that's actually that's not, no, actually, never mind. I take that back. Okay, so I was reading the wrong intersection. This actually has to be trimmed over here. So let's do that first. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this curve over here. I'm just going to extend it a little bit like this, and I'm just going to project it from X. And now I'm just going to project this. Oh, actually that carbon surface should already be there. So let's go ahead and trim. That's good. Actually, you know what? I might have to adjust the location of this because this intersection right here, I think they should ideally be at the same location. So, well, let's find out where this is supposed to be. So I think this is pretty close to this corner. So yeah, I think it should be around that location, which it is a little bit far out. So I think I can probably just move this one a little bit inboard. So let's go ahead and do that too. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this curve over here like this. I'm just going to, oh, I don't want that. I want to merge on. I'm going to just extend it over here like this. Maybe use the middle mouse button so that it lines up nicely onto, well, actually, you know what? Let's move it over here. Okay, so I think that's a little bit better. Let's take a look at the front again. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good location. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the stretch tool, snap it over here like this. And actually, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to snap this curve over here so that they match nicely. I am going to get, well, it actually, let's take a look. All right, so that's good. And this intersection, although it would be really nice if I could just extend it, I don't think that's going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strike a curve. This surface actually, no, that doesn't match. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab, I think this curve works. So I'm just going to recycle that one. I'm just going to snap it over here like this. And I'm going to project it against this one like that. And let's go ahead and trim, see how that looks. I'm going to trim over here. And I'm just going to use a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so that looks pretty good. This probably needs a little bit of refinement later on, but I'm going to leave that for a little bit later. These curves and surfaces I'm going to get rid of, and let's go ahead and trim this one. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. All right. Okay, so not too bad. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see how this one intersects over here. Now I do have a surface here that probably needs to be adjusted a little bit because right now it's a little bit floating outboard. So I probably need to push this one in quite a bit. So let's take a look. This is just a rail, which means it'll impact that, but it's okay. It's pretty rough right now, so I can probably just play around with it a little bit. So I think it needs, well, I think it needs to be pushed a little bit rearward in car so that this surface can intersect with this one. So let's go ahead and put that in. And I'm going to see how this one intersects against this one. So let's check that. So I'm just going to keep the history. And this one, actually, I'm just going to do an edge line over here like this. And that one is floating. So let's take a look. I don't know if it's supposed to intersect over here, but let's just, well, for the sake of cleaning up the line, let's just put it there. So I'm just going to pick this curve over here. I'm going to snap it like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this one over here. And I'm going to extend this one over here. Actually, they're not that bad. Now, this just needs to flow. Although, I'm starting to think that this probably should be in the same line as this one. Okay, yeah, that's actually not looking not too bad. I know there's a little bit of discrepancy over here, but overall not too bad. And I'm pretty sure I can play around with the surface or underneath, so I think that's not too bad. However, I think this one definitely probably needs to be refined a little bit. So what I'm going to do, actually, you know what, let's just leave it. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to extend this back over here. And I'm going to extend this one back over here. And I'm going to see if I can just put a fillet here and see how the intersection looks. Okay, so I'm just going to grab, well, let's see. First of all, let's get rid of this curving surface over here. And actually, I want to check this this one a little bit. So I'm just going to grab a surface fillet like this. It's going to be chord G2, curvature on both sides. It's going to be 50, form factor 1. I'm just going to put a fillet here. Oh, that doesn't look good. Okay, so if that's the case, let's go ahead and do a trivial offset. So I'm just going to make it 50. Yeah, let's just make it nice and wide. I'm just going to trim over here. Now, this is not the final surfacing. I'm just trying to see how the intersection looks. So it's going to be G2 on both sides like this. I'm going to turn explicit control on. That doesn't reduce it. Okay, and let's just check the intersection over here. So I'm just going to extend this one. Okay, and let's hide this for a second. Not too bad. Let's go ahead and extend this one. Oh, actually, I should probably just be able to untrim. Let's take a look at the line. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be too bad. However, I do think that this line probably needs to dive down a little bit more. Because if you look at the intersection over here, you'll see that this is going up a little bit. And there's a fillet that needs to be formed here, and it's going down a little bit. Which means I should probably make this curl a little bit more. So let's do a little adjustment on that. So I'm just going to move it down like this. And I should probably give it a little bit more volume here. Like that. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's been modified. So I'm just going to delete this one. And actually, I should delete this one as well. Let's go ahead and do a freeform blend over here. It's going to position on both sides. Curve here. Curve and surface over here. And, oh. Okay, so that's actually not too bad. Now I'm just going to make it default. Well, actually, edge line doesn't look too bad. I mean, I like the how the intersection is like this over here. The only problem is if I were to just extend this, there's going to be a gap over here. So I do need to, unfortunately, can't do that. So I'm just going to make this a default, and I'm going to turn the explicit control on so that it's at least 5 degrees. And let's connect the dots and see how that looks. So I'm just going to use the stretch tool. I'm going to snap over here. And I'm going to trim. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit shorter. So I'm just going to use extend. Even if the construction history gets deleted, I don't think it's a huge problem. I'm just trying to get surfaces somewhat in target so that they look decent. Okay, so I'm just going to fill this up with the square like this. And let's take a look. Okay, so I think the line diving down is much better than before. It is much more like the picture over here. Now it's just a matter of will I be able to make this smooth, a smoother transition. So let's go ahead and do a surface filler again. 50. Oh, that's not good. Okay, so it's curling like this. So I'm just going to do a tubular offset. 100 is too big, so I'm just going to make it half, like that. For this one, it's probably larger the better. Of course, within reason, because the smoother it is, the smoother transition it's going to provide later on. So let me just transition both sides into G2. This one you can change the connect ends, edge line. I don't think it really matters that much. However, I am going to extend it to see how the intersection looks. Now, the only problem is because it is a fillet, you'll see that this intersection is going to be formed like that. Well, first of all, let me just delete the construction history over here. And I'm going to untrim this piece over here like this. And it does curl up like that because of the fillet. Well, to be honest, I don't know how this is going to turn out. So let's give it a test run. So I'm just going to make something smaller. And I should probably trim it against this surface over here like this. And I'm just going to trim that off. So extend, select it like this. And now I'm going to just do a surface filler over here. Like that, edge line. I'll probably have to manually do this, but let's just see how the highlight flows. I don't think it's that bad. I think the fillet does need to get bigger as it goes towards this side, and I probably have to play around with the tangent line a little bit. But overall, a highlight is actually not that bad. I know there's a little bit of flick over here, but I think I also see the flick over here. And the fillet is going to become a little bit larger as it goes towards this side. So I think this is going to be okay. All right, so if that's the case, let me just undo. So I'm pretty happy with how things are over here. And I think I'm just going to try and do a test run on this fillet over here. Okay, so that's it, however. I think we can probably end this particular lesson at this point. So let's continue in the next one. Okay, so that is it for part 20. We will pick this up in the next video. And thank you guys for watching.